So hey, in this video, I want to recommend the 5 books that you should read in the year 2025. So these are some of the top books that I read in 2024 and they helped me grow in different areas and become a better person in life. So definitely read these books. Let's start. So the first book that I want to recommend is The Paradox of Choices by Barry Schwartz. This is a very interesting book and ये book बात करती है about all the different problems that we have right now about choices. So Barry बताते हैं कि there are a lot of choices that we have in this world. Every time we go out to buy something or we have to make a decision, हमारे पास इतने सारे options हैं because of capitalism, because of different companies working to sell a lot of stuff to us. And Barry बताते हैं that we have a lot of options to choose and जिस वजह से हम एक state में पहुंच जाते हैं which is called as analysis paralysis. And that is a problem phase where you're not able to decide on something और आपके दिमाग में यही चलता रहता है कि maybe there's something better out there, maybe there's something better if I go to another store and check something out. So all these problems Barry has discussed about different kind of decisions that we have to go through in everyday life, be it short term decision या फिर बहुत ही long term life related decisions. So you should definitely read this book if you also feel that you have a little problem facing and you also kind of consider a lot या फिर एक decision लेने के बाद if you keep thinking about if that decision was right or wrong. So I really enjoyed this book and I actually made a summary video about this book which you should definitely check it out. I will put it up in the info card. So definitely check this out and you can also read this book. It's a great book. So let's go on to the next book that I want to talk about. So the book number 2 that I want to talk about is Tuesdays with Morrie. And just talking about this book makes me happy. This is a very beautiful book and you should definitely read this book. And इस book के अंदर there is basically interviews of Morrie, who is a college professor, who was a college professor, and he is very old and he is dying right now because of a disease called ALS, जिसमें धीरे धीरे उनके सारे body parts काम करने बंद कर देते हैं. So basically these interviews are about a student who finds Morrie by looking at an interview और वो उनसे मिलने आता है. And then every Tuesday the student comes to Morrie's home और वो बातें करते हैं about different things. I would say writing of this book is really easy, so it's an easy read. And different chapters of this book talks about different aspects of life, for example career, love. Basically Morrie बताते हैं अपना perspective about how his perspective has changed over his lifetime and how his disease has caused him to view things from a different perspective जो कि हम regular life में जीते हुए realize नहीं करते वो चीज़ें. And this book is a very grounding book. It will really help you to realize and see what are the important parts of life and what are the important parts of different aspects of life or what is a good view, a good way to look at these things. This is one of the book जिसको कि मैं हर साल I think एक बार पढ़ना चाहूँगा. It definitely is that worth. So definitely read this book and do let me know what you think about this book in the comments. So let's move on to the next book. So the book number 3 that I want to talk about is Digital Minimalism by Cal Newport. Or Cal Newport ki the first book that I read was really amazing, deep work, and I actually made a summary video about it. You can check it out on my channel. Digital Minimalism basically talks about how we can decrease the usage and minimalize the usage of social media apps that we have right now. There are a lot of social media apps, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and because we are using everything and our time is occupied in all of these things. So कैल न्यूपोर्ट यही बात करते हैं कि कैसे वी कैन डिक्रीज द यूजेज, कैसे वी कैन यूज़ सोशल मीडिया एप्स इन अ वे दैट इट बेनिफिट्स अस रादर देन वी स्पेंडिंग अ लॉट ऑफ टाइम, वेस्टिंग अ लॉट ऑफ टाइम एंड इट हार्मिंग अस मेंटली. सो यू शुड डेफिनेटली रीड दिस बुक. कैल न्यूपोर्ट बेसिकली इसमें बात करते हैं अबाउट डिफरेंट स्ट्रैटेजीज दैट यू कैन यूज़ to which is to first do a great reset by leaving or not using social media for first 30 days and by slowly reintroducing it after that, so that we can decide on which apps are actually beneficial to us and why are we actually using those kind of apps. And you should definitely read this book if you feel that you also waste a lot of time on social media and it somehow affects your mental health. Then digital minimalism is something that we really need to practice in this year, and because apps keep getting better and then we keep wasting a lot of time on it. So definitely this is need of the hour, and I loved reading this book and you should also definitely give it a read in the year 2025. So the book number 4 that I want to recommend is Storyworthy. So this book is about storytelling, but it's not something that you can only read if you are into storytelling or if you are someone who tells stories or if you are someone who is into making videos. And I actually picked up this book because मुझे अपने YouTube videos को better करना था. But after reading this book I realized that we tell stories every day, and I think reading this book is very beneficial in your daily life also. Even I think you can be more engaging and more articulate at your work, in the meetings that you give. You can say things in a better way, and even with your friends, even with your family, so that people are more interested in you and listening to you. So definitely the author of this book is a great storyteller, and he talks about his ways कि कैसे वो stories बताते हैं, and how he has had gained a huge number of audience who wants to listen to his stories. And the book talks about the basics of storytelling. One of the most important one was, I think, where author talks about that every story has a 5 second moment, or puri story or plot revolves around that, and how you tell about that, and how do you introduce that 5 second moment, and कैसे आप build up करते हो उस 5 second moment के लिए, is the real basics of storytelling, and is the real way of telling a good story. And this book will help you to become a more interesting person, be the person who's more heard, and people will actually be interested to listen what you have to say, if you implement whatever things that are said in this book. And I think the way I watch movies has also changed. कोई भी मूवी मैं देखने जाता हूँ तो आई रियलाइज हाउ स्टोरी टेलिंग बेसिक्स आर वर्किंग ऑन दैट, एंड इफ you are interested into that, you should definitely read this book. So let's move on to the last and the final book that I want to recommend for the year 2025 is this book, The Little Prince. And this is a book by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. Sorry, it's a French name and it's hard to pronounce. But this book was gifted to me in June 2024, and I read it, I think, in the last month. But it's a beautiful book. It's just a 30-minute read. It should not take more than a day to read. You can just pick it up one day. And this book basically talks about the experience of this little prince, कि कैसे उसको अलग अलग लोग मिलते हैं on his journey, and what he realizes and how he realizes things about adults, कि कैसे हम जैसे जैसे बड़े होते हैं we start to close our minds and we start to see things from a perspective of कि किस तरह से world ने वो चीज़ें create करी हैं, कैसे चीज़ें work करती हैं in the world, and we close our minds the way we used to think when we were child. एंड अब हम उस बारे में और उन चीज़ों के बारे में उस तरह से चीज़ों को नहीं देखते, उस ओपन माइंडेडनेस से चीज़ों को नहीं देखते. एंड इट ऑल्सो टॉक्स अबाउट कि कैसे हम जैसे जैसे बड़े होते हैं, जैसे जैसे हम ज़्यादा पैसा कमाते हैं, वी बिकम कलेक्टर्स, और हम सिर्फ हमारा ध्यान सिर्फ कलेक्शन पे जाता है कि हम ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा चीज़ें कैसे खरीद लें या फिर ले लें, रादर देन फाइंडिंग द वैल्यू इन द थिंग्स जो कि हमारे पास ऑलरेडी हैं. और आई थिंक ऑन हिज जर्नी इन लिटिल प्रिंस ही ऑल्सो मीट्स डिफरेंट काइंड ऑफ पीपल. द मोस्ट इंटरेस्टिंग रिप्रेजेंटेशन विच आई लाइक्ड वॉज जिसमें कि लिटिल प्रिंस मिलता है एक लैम्प लाइटर से, जो कि एक प्लानट पे अकेला रहता होता है, और रात होते ही वो लैम्प चला देता है और सुबह होते ही वो बंद कर देता है. एंड व्हेन लिटिल प्रिंस आस्क्स हिम कि आप ये क्यों कर रहे हो, ही वाज लाइक कि वो ऑर्डर्स हैं, दोज आर द ऑर्डर्स, आई हैव टू जस्ट वेक अप, डू द वर्क, एंड आई हैव टू स्लीप व्हेन द नाइट कम्स. तो दिस काइंड ऑफ गिव्स अस अ पर्सपेक्टिव और गिव्स अ पैरेलल कि कैसे हम orders follow करते हैं when we are in our jobs, and we just forget about everything. We forget about life, we forget about different things that are more important to us, rather than we are just busy in daily hustle and just trying to follow the orders and not really know where we are going. And overall Little Prince और भी लोगों से मिलता है in his journey, and that gives a resemblance of what kind of people we see around us, and how we are just occupied with things that are created by world. And I think the first book that I talked about uses with Morrie, and this book are from different perspectives, but I think that both talk about the same things, because this book is from a little boy's perspective and that is from an old person's perspective, and they both talk about the important things which जो कि हम भूल जाते हैं in the middle part of our lives, where we are just busy with our duties, our work, our matters. So definitely read these both books, and they will help you realize the important parts in life, to not forget to enjoy, to not take life too seriously, because we're just on a small blue planet in vast universe. And so definitely read these recommendations, and do let me know if you have any other recommendations for me to read in the year 2025. I have high hopes for 2025. So, and a very happy new year to you. And if you found this video a little bit helpful, then do subscribe to my channel and do leave a like. See you around.